Life is full of twists and turns, some expected, many not. And in those moments of uncertainty, we often try to control every little detail. It's human nature to hold on tight, to cling to our plans, our timelines, and our own limited understanding of how things should unfold. But what happens when life doesn't follow our script? What do we do when the road we've mapped out suddenly crumbles beneath our feet? This is where faith steps in, not just any faith, but a deep, unshakable trust in God's timing. Because here's the truth: God doesn't operate on our clocks or calendars. His timing is not bound by the constraints of human understanding, and His ways are far higher than ours. When we put everything in His hands, we're not giving up. We're stepping up. We're saying, God, I don't have all the answers, but I trust that you do. It takes courage to surrender. It takes boldness to say, I don't know how or when, but I know who. And that who is the one who created you, the one who sees the bigger picture when all you see are scattered pieces. Trusting God's timing means understanding that delays are not denials. Closed doors are often divine protection. Detours may feel like setbacks, but they're really setups for something greater. When we stop wrestling with life and start resting in God, we begin to see how perfectly He orchestrates every moment. He's never late. He's never early. He is always right on time. So if you're in a season where things feel uncertain, if you're standing in the middle of chaos, wondering how it's all going to work out, take a deep breath and remind yourself, God's got this. Put it in His hands. Let Him take the lead. Because His timing is not just perfect, it's always for your good. Faith is the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. It's not about knowing every step of the journey. It's about trusting the one who's leading you. Fear and doubt have a way of creeping in, whispering lies into your spirit. You're not good enough. You'll never make it. What if everything falls apart? But here's the thing. Faith silences those voices. Faith reminds you that you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to believe in the one who does. When you put everything in God's hands, you're not operating from fear, you're stepping into trust. And trust doesn't mean you won't have questions. Trust doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It means that even in the storm, even in the uncertainty, you choose to believe that God is bigger than the obstacles in front of you. Faith isn't the absence of fear, it's the refusal to let fear have the final say. Faith isn't passive, it's active. It's walking forward even when the path isn't clear. It's showing up even when you feel unqualified. It's believing that if God brought you to this moment, He's already prepared the way for you to get through it. Faith doesn't just move mountains, it moves you. It lifts your eyes off the problem and focuses them on the promise. And here's what I want you to understand. Doubt will always knock on your door, but you don't have to let it in. Fear will try to paralyze you, but faith will give you the strength to keep going. When you live with faith, you're saying, I don't have to see it to believe it. You're declaring that God's plans for your life are greater than anything you could imagine. So whatever you're facing right now, whatever feels impossible, overwhelming, or out of reach, remember this: faith is your key. Step out, not because the way is clear, but because God's word is true. Believe beyond the fear, push past the doubt, and watch how God shows up when you dare to trust Him fully. Worry has a way of wrapping itself around your soul, doesn't it? It's heavy. It drains your energy, steals your peace, and keeps you up at night. And yet, so many of us carry it like a badge of honor, as if worrying about something will somehow fix it. But let me ask you this. When has worrying ever solved a problem? When has stressing over the future ever changed it? Worry is a burden we were never meant to bear. When you put everything in God's hands, you're saying, I refuse to carry what was never mine to carry. You're saying, God, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I trust you hold tomorrow. Here's the truth. Worry is rooted in control. We want to manage outcomes, predict the future, and ensure everything goes the way we planned. But life doesn't work like that. And the more we try to control what's uncontrollable, the more anxious we become. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving it to God. The Bible tells us to cast our cares on Him because He cares for us. And that word cast is powerful. It means to throw, to hurl, to release. It's not a gentle act. It's intentional and decisive. It's saying, God, this is too heavy for me. Take it. And when you do, something incredible happens. You find peace, not because the situation has changed, but because your perspective has. You realize that God is bigger than the problem you're facing. He's stronger than the storm you're in. And He's more than able to handle what feels impossible to you. So today, if you're carrying the weight of worry, I challenge you to let it go. Put it in God's hands. Stop trying to figure out every detail and start trusting the one who's already worked it out. Because when you release worry, you make room for peace. When you let go, you make room for God to step in and do what only He can do. There's a peace that comes when you stop fighting for control and start trusting God's plan. But surrender, it's not an easy word for most of us. We're taught to hold on, to push harder, to keep trying to make things happen in our own strength. And when life doesn't go the way we want, we get frustrated, we question, and we resist. But here's the truth. Surrender isn't about giving up, it's about giving over. It's about recognizing that God's plan is bigger, better, and more beautiful than anything we could ever imagine for ourselves. When you surrender, you're not losing control. You're placing it in the hands of the one who knows the beginning from the end. There's a story being written for your life. God is the author. He sees the whole picture while you're only looking at a single page. What might feel like a setback to you is often a setup for something greater. What looks like a closed door might be His way of protecting you from something you couldn't see. And what feels like waiting is often preparation for the blessing that's on the way. When you surrender to God, you're saying, I trust that your plan is greater than my preferences. I trust that your wisdom is greater than my understanding. That kind of trust brings peace, the kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. It's a peace that allows you to stand firm when life feels uncertain, a peace that calms your soul, even in the middle of chaos. Surrender doesn't mean life will always be easy, but it does mean you won't have to face it alone. God's plan is perfect, not because it avoids every challenge, but because it promises to work all things together for your good. Even the pain, even the disappointments, even the things you don't understand right now, He's weaving it all into something beautiful. So if you're holding on too tightly today, if you're trying to force things to happen or fix things that feel broken, I want to encourage you, let go. Surrender doesn't mean defeat. It means victory. It means allowing God to take the pen and write the story He's always had planned for your life. And in that surrender, you'll find peace like you've never known. Life doesn't always go the way we hope. There will be moments when the weight feels unbearable, when the obstacles seem insurmountable, and when the road ahead is covered in shadows of uncertainty. These are the moments that test your faith, the moments that stretch you, challenge you, and make you wonder if you can keep going. But here's the good news. You don't have to walk through it alone. When you put everything in God's hands, you trust Him. Trust isn't just for the sunny days. It's for the storms. It's for the moments when you feel like giving up. It's for the nights when you cry out, "Why, God?" and don't hear an answer. Resilience doesn't come from avoiding trials. It comes from enduring them with faith. Trials aren't meant to break you. They're meant to build you. They're not punishment. their preparation. God often uses the hard seasons of life to shape your character, deepen your faith, and position you for something greater. Think about it. Gold is refined in the fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. The most beautiful stories of triumph always begin with moments of struggle. When you face trials, you have a choice. You can let the difficulty define you, or you can let it refine you. You can try to carry it all on your own, or you can hand it over to God and say, Lord, I can't do this by myself, but I know you can. Resilience doesn't mean you won't feel the weight of what you're going through. It means you keep moving forward, knowing that God's strength is made perfect in your weakness. And here's what I want you to remember. Every trial has an expiration date. Pain is temporary, but God's promises are eternal. You may not see the breakthrough today or even tomorrow, but if you keep trusting, keep believing, and keep putting everything in His hands, He will make a way. The same God who brought you through past storms will bring you through this one too. So don't give up. Don't let the weight of the trial convince you that God isn't working. Even when you can't see it, He's moving. Even when it feels impossible, He's already making a way. Resilience isn't about being strong on your own. It's about leaning into the one who is your strength. Trust Him in the hard times and watch how He turns your trial into a testimony. Obedience is a word that often makes us uncomfortable. It challenges us, pushes us out of our comfort zones, and demands that we trust God even when His instructions don't make sense. But here's the truth. There is freedom in obedience. There is peace, purpose, and power when you follow God's direction, even when you don't fully understand where it's leading. Sometimes God will ask you to take a step that feels impossible. He may ask you to leave something behind, to forgive someone who hurt you, to step into a role you feel unqualified for, or to wait when everything in you wants to move. And in those moments, the temptation is to hesitate, to doubt, or to let fear paralyze you. But delayed obedience is still disobedience. And every time you hold back, you're robbing yourself of the blessings God has already prepared on the other side of your yes. Obedience isn't about perfection, it's about trust. It's about believing that God's commands are not burdens, they're pathways to freedom. When He asks you to let go of something, it's because He has something better. When He closes a door, it's because He's protecting you from what's behind it. When He tells you to wait, it's because He's preparing you for what's next. Think about this. Every great breakthrough in the Bible started with a step of obedience. Noah obeyed when God told him to build an ark, even though it had never rained. Moses obeyed when God told him to stand before Pharaoh, even though he didn't feel equipped. Peter obeyed when Jesus told him to step out of the boat, even though the waves were raging. In each case, obedience unlocked the impossible, and the same is true for you. Obedience might feel risky, but it's where faith becomes action. It's where you say, God, I may not see the full picture, but I trust the one who's painting it. It's where you move, not because it's easy, but because you believe in the one who's calling you forward. When you obey, you're not just following commands, you're stepping into alignment with God's plan. You're walking in the freedom of knowing you don't have to have all the answers because He does. You're releasing the weight of trying to control everything and choosing to let Him lead. And when you do, you'll find that obedience isn't about restriction, it's about stepping into the fullness of what God has for you. So today, whatever God is asking of you, don't hesitate. Don't let fear hold you back. Trust His voice, follow His lead, and know that your obedience will open the door to freedom, blessings, and a life beyond what you could ever imagine. God is a provider. He always has been, and He always will be. But here's the thing. Sometimes, in the middle of life's challenges, it's easy to lose sight of His blessings. When you're focused on the struggle, it's hard to see the ways God is sustaining you. Yet even in your darkest moments, His provision is all around you. Provision doesn't always come in the way we expect. We often pray for a specific answer, a specific breakthrough, or a specific outcome. And when it doesn't happen exactly as we imagined, we think God isn't moving. But His provision isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle, and steady. It's the strength to get through one more day. It's the unexpected kind